Hello and welcome to the Leeds Indic Trails. Today we have with us Seetha Ravi, who is the granddaughter of Kalki Krishnamurthi and daughter of Kalki Rajendran, who took Kalki the magazine to great heights. Seetha herself has been a former editor of Kalki as well, and in the light of Ponniyin Selvan being taken as a film, the focus has come back to the book. So today we will be talking to Seetha about some of the history and geography behind Ponniyin Selvan and some of her memories of her fathers and grandfathers connects with the book. Welcome Seetha to Indic Trails.
Thank you, Sandhya, and hello, viewers.
So Ponniyin Selvan is perennially popular in Tamil Nadu. Kalki has serialized it time and again
Yes.
to great readerships. I do remember my grandmother and then my mother pulling out what we call the pages that had Ponniyin Selvan and later binding it and keeping it as books. And they are such beautiful collectibles. So I'm sure within the family as well, Ponniyin Selvan must have been much discussed. What are your memories of these kind of family discussions?
The earliest memory of Ponniyin Selvan was a rhyme that my grandmother used to recite. பொன்னியின் செல்வனும் பூங்குழலி அம்மையும் வந்தியத்தேவனும் வானதியும் குந்தவையும் பழுவேட்டரையரும் பழுவூர் நந்தினியும் எம்மை பாடாய் படுத்துகிறார் நாங்கள் பாகாய் உருகுகிறோம். She used to tell me that it was part of the welcome address that Kalki was presented at a school function.
Okay.
Obviously, the Tamil teacher there would have scripted this for him.
Yeah.
But she had memorized it and then she would recite it in our childhood. And even before we read Ponniyin Selvan, we were exposed to Ponniyin Selvan this way, and we knew that it was something very special for the Tamil reader and for the Tamil populace.
Okay.
So that was the earliest memory of Ponniyin Selvan. Then the story about the story being written, the most popular and most loved tale in the family was how one of the chapters that Kalki wrote and left to send to the press in the morning was torn to bits by his eldest granddaughter Gauri, that is my aunt Anandi's daughter. She was a young child of
Toddler
about 2 years or
Yeah.
maybe less. So the morning, how tumultuous it would have been.
And the press deadline to
Yes.
meet, and in those days we had it. You needed
It was
that
not-
time to
it was not-
typeset.
It was not that digital age.
Yeah.
So my father obviously was very annoyed with the child, and he said, "Why did you do this?" But his father thought differently. He said, "How will the child know the importance of this? So you just have to pick up all the pieces and do the jigsaw puzzle work." So which he did.
Okay.
So all the pieces were pasted back as pages and sent to the press very, very quickly with the help of some other members of the family. Well, that was one of the sidelights of how it was written and what happened at home when it was written. Another very interesting thing that my father has shared with us is that, and he has also written it in his book, Adu Oru Porkalam, his memoirs about the days gone by with his father and other contemporaries of his father. So in that he records a fact that one morning when Kalki was doing his yoga, Shirasasanam, he was doing his Shirasasanam, and it was my father's duty to time the asana. And suddenly he got down before it was time. He came down and then he asked his son, that is my father, why not make Senda Namudan the Raja? So that is how the twist to the tale came about.
Okay.
So in the film, of course, Senda Namudan does not become the king.
Yes.
But the original story, Senda Namudan becomes the emperor, and more important, Poonkulli becomes the queen.
Yes. And
so, which is probably the Kalki's, motivation to make Sendanamudan
Okay,
the
the
king as
king,
well.
yeah.
So he took that liberty and gave the tale a big twist
Okay.
at that point.
Hunkuruli is
So
a delightful character, I think.
yes, amazing character.
Yeah. So inside, within your family, I'm sure everybody had an opinion on each of the characters. I'm sure every member, whether, it must have been a much discussed book. And I think our Thodav Karitaya, when he was writing it, each time there is a stop, there must be a discussion on how the book would proceed, the story would proceed.
I was not part of that because I wasn't born then.
Yeah, of course. But in your father's memories, any of them?
He has not mentioned anything particular that way, but he has shared that to get the mind space and the time, Kalki would uh, get his car and then ask Appa to get into the car and they would go to Tambram. And guess what they would do there? They would walk up and down on the Tambram railway station platform.
Okay.
In order to get some time and
Thinking
space
time,
to
imagine,
because at home it would always be crowded and busy and then we calls people coming and going. So when he wanted to get away, this is what he would do: walk up and down the station platform. Tambaram, he went, I think, because uh, farm there,
Okay.
which he sold off because it didn't pay too well. He used to go to the farm and then spend a weekend there or spend an evening or a day and then get back. It was very relaxing for him. But after the farm was sold, he used to go to Tambaram.
It must
He
have
still
been.
went to Tambaram, but not to the farm.
The station may not have been so crowded then. It may have been peaceful
Of
and
course.
alone.
Tambaram station was, it was really rural those days.
Those days. You mentioned that you went on this Ponniyin Selvan trail.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us something about that
The
experience?
trail itself was designed by my sister Lakshmi, who now runs the Kalki online platform. And it is called Parak Parak.
Okay.
Ponniyin Selvan, Vandiyathevan Padayil or Anubhava Payanam. So we go on we are supposed to take the trail that Vandiyathevan took and visit many of the places that
Mentioned
feature in
in the
the novel in Ponniyin Selvan. So it was a very interesting experience in many ways. One, it was when you go there, you literally relive the story.
Yes.
Because you can't help that.
Yeah.
And the second thing is the entire group is so clued into Ponniyin Selvan because only those who have read the story and those who are fans of the novel and admirers of Kalki mainly take the tour.
Yeah.
Of course, there were some
newcomers,
entirely uninitiated
as well. Okay.
people as well. But that was even more interesting because for them to watch the others discussing over each and every little detail, that sort of opened their eyes to. They had watched the movie, so that opened their eyes to the
richness of the
novel and how it had impacted several generations.
Absolutely.
So that way it was interesting. We went to many authentic places, some conjectured.
Okay.
Like Kadambur, we went to Kadambur. The Kadambur temple is there, but the Kadambur palace is not there.
Okay. But is there a spot for the palace, or it wasn't? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows where it was.
Okay.
But it is easy to, to imagine that it could have been here, very close to the temple, because there was a
pathway, maybe.
Yes, there was an underground tunnel from the temple to the palace.
Yes, through which
most of the underground tunnels would be from temple to palace. For reasons. Because the wealth was all there.
Okay.
So to keep a tab on that, and also for easy escape.
Right.
In times of trouble or
war.
So that's nice. In a way, you are you have only part of history is there. The other part you have to imagine. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's really amazing
Okay.
that way. And some other places where like Kodiyakarai, the temple,
Hmm.
the description still remains the same.
Okay.
So the temple is still desolate,
Uh,
and there is that the compound wall around the temple on which there is a Nandi, that
uh,
sculpture of the Nandi,
hmm.
where, according to Kalki's description,
Uh,
uh, Punkurali is leaning on the Nandi and eating into a coconut,
right, yeah.
the sadam which the Kurukal gave her.
Okay.
So that is how Vandiyathevan sees her first.
Right.
So, and then she jumps off the wall and starts running. He runs behind her. So when you go there, the entire scene comes back to you, and then you imagine her running and how she would have jumped off such a high wall. So how physically, how powerful she would
She would
have
have
been.
been, yeah, and strong
Ah.
because she plays a very important role in,
Yes, to
yeah,
row a boat
across the sea.
sea is not
Yes,
easy.
yes,
And so, um, and also how authentic every description is in the story.
story.
So, and another very thrilling experience was at Kodiyakarai,
Hmm.
where again the description fitted what we saw fitted the
This
description to a
in the
T,
novel
and that little heap of bricks
remains.
still remains there.
Uh,
The interesting thing is that Kalki himself has written an article about Vandiyathevan's trail, which he took.
After writing the
No,
novel.
not after writing the novel, before writing the novel.
Okay.
He has mentioned there, வந்தியத்தேவனுக்கு போட்டியா
Hmm.
நானும் எல்லா இடத்துக்கும் முன்னாடியே போய் பார்த்துடணும்னு ஆசைப்பட்டேன். I
Okay.
mean, that's how he begins the article.
Okay.
So, but the article appeared in the 1951 Deepavali Malar first. So it appeared a little after the novel started being serialized in Kalki. It was the serialization started in 1950. This article appeared in 1951 in the Deepavali Malar. So there must have been a lag of a few months. But still, he says, I wanted to go and see what Vandiyathevan, the trail that Vandiyathevan
took.
Would take. So they have been to Viranam, they have been to Tanjavur, they have been to Pazhayare. அதில் வந்து அவர் கூட he was accompanied by one Mr. S.S. Gopalan, who is an advocate and the secretary of the Saraswati Mahal. So this person has been a very useful resource person for Kalki along that trail. He has told him the old names of the towns, what they used to be called, what they are called now, and all those things. And it has been very helpful. And after Kalki's death, Gopalan has written an obituary about Kalki, in which he mentions how he has taken this tour and how authentic all the descriptions that are in the novel, and how he has captured so beautifully what he saw in Kodiyakarai. So Kodiyakarai still remains the same. Of course, such a remote place, so it cannot be much, and it's a sanctuary also, it's a protected area, so nothing much can happen
there.
to it. Yeah. Probably we don't see that many deer now, but still
it
exciting enough.
What about Sri Lanka? I think he traveled to Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka as well, yes. Yeah. He did. Actually, he traveled to Sri Lanka even in the 30s, late 30s, 35 or 36, when he was working for Anand Nilekani.
Okay.
At that time, a group of Kalki admirers, they invited him over, and actually their fan club was called Kaniyazhin Kanavu fan club. Kaniyazhin Kanavu is one of the short stories that
he had written. Right.
So they invited him and he went, and the article that he wrote after he came back in Vigadan, in that also he has mentioned about Rajaraja Cholan's conquest and how the Cholas were such a great clan, and how the naval fleet was developed by Rajaraja Cholan, and the influences that happened
in Lanka.
And how mm, the Buddhist monasteries function, and how the Cholas took an interest in that.
Okay.
All that he has mentioned even in his Vigadan days. So this clock must have started ticking then.
Right then, yeah.
And then to write Ponniyin Selvan, he took and made another trip. But that trip, he was in that trip he was accompanied by one of the local politicians, Natesha Pillai, it's called. And he arranged a big retinue to go with Kalki, including a cook and all the provisions that they may need for say 10 or 15 days, and went along with them. So they land in Jaffna from the aircraft, and they go to Anuradhapura and Polanaruwa. And Kalki writes humorously with so much so much of so many arrangements you have made. You could have as well brought Anuradhapura here. He said then Natesha Pillai says, no, I can't do that because I have already given my word to Anuradhapura that we will go there. So and then Kalki says, Evalo Satyasandan, he is such an honest man. So he has to keep his word. Even among politicians, he is an honest politician.
Okay.
So all these things he has very light-heartedly documented in the travelogue. And he has captured the beauty of Sri Lanka, the beauty of the monasteries, how even the ruins speak so much.
Right.
And how amidst the ruins you see the Shiva temples built by the Cholas, and how some of the Shiva temples are still surviving. And then in one spot they see a tree, Kondrai Maram. The Kondrai Maram, then he starts speaking to the Kondrai Maram and says, Kondrai Marame, nee inge eppadi vanda? How did you get here? The last I saw you was in Pazhaiyarai.
Okay. Across the seas.
So in Tanjavur, Pazhaiyarai near Tanjavur. So how did you get here? And then the Kondrai Maram replies to him saying, see, the Cholas came here and Rajaraja Cholan built a temple here for the Lord Shiva, and the temple will need all the puja flowers and other items for the puja. So they thoughtfully brought a tree from there and planted me here. So that is how I still survive. Then he found that it was not the tree speaking, but Natesha Pillai.
Okay, so there's so much of lightheartedness in all their interactions.
Lightheartedness in the writing as well.
Yeah, I think the way he's characterized Vandiyadevan itself is so that it's a comedy, it is lightheartedness, and that boy is so interesting. I mean, it's literally
very human. See,
yeah,
it's an epic. It's like Mahabharatam and Ramayanam. Ponniyin Selvan is an epic, but the difference is that it's an epic about many
ordinary
human
people.
beings.
Yes,
and all human beings in flesh and blood, and
having those failings,
having all the tumultuous emotions of any average individual, and with all their human failings. And the justification for those failings. So there's no villain, there's no villainy as such.
Yes. So your father also traveled with Kalki on some of these tours? Many of these tours? Yeah.
To Lanka also.
Okay. Has your father written about these memories?
He has not written about those memories. He was a very young boy then.
Yeah.
Actually, he was only 18 when his father passed away. So he must have been much younger when he went on those tours. So I don't think he wrote about what he saw on those tours, but he has said that Kalki would become very ill quite often during the tours, and he's had to tend
Take
to
care
him
of
and take care of him and make sure that he took his medicines, because in his busy schedule he would invariably forget to take the medicine. So,
Okay. So we have Ponniyin Selvan, we have Sivagamiyan Shabadam and Parthiban and Kanavu. But Ponniyin Selvan alone, I think, rose above the other two historical novels. I mean, of a similar
popularity.
genre in popularity. Why do you think that is?
I think it is because it's. I told you one of the main reasons is the characterization. Is,
Yes,
they're all
yes.
very human, and
Yeah.
those tumultuous emotions are all yours when you
Yeah,
read them.
yeah, yeah.
So that is one reason, and the second reason is that it is the pride, the Chola pride. You see
Yeah,
it belongs to the entire South.
yeah.
So, and when you say Kaveri, it's like
Chola
saying the
Nadu.
Ganga.
Ah,
It's like
okay.
as sacred as the Ganga
Ah,
is for any Indian. So
right.
to the South Indian, the Kaveri is so sacred.
Hmm.
So Ponni nale Kaveri dane.
Nama.
It means the Kaveri and the son of the Kaveri. So so much of sentiment attached to the river, and the river flows in the story like in the novel as
Yeah.
like a parallel story.
Along with
It's a parallel
yeah,
story.
everything
So
happens, I think, on the river's banks, along the course
happens
of
on
the
the riverside,
river.
and most of the literate population of Tamil Nadu developed along the riverside,
Banks,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So it is very close to their hearts, and it is not about a fine art as Shivagami and Savadam is.
Hmm.
It's all about a fine art and how an artist's life
Hmm.
can be, how demanding it can be, and how when somebody who loves an art can get very possessive about it.
Hmm.
So there are very uh, different ramifications in that novel.
Yeah. It's also how she had to sacrifice something to keep her art also, isn't
She
it?
has to sacrifice a lot to keep her art, and then at one point, um, see, the art becomes the nation's threat
Hmm.
because she's abducted, right?
Right.
So it becomes a threat to the entire kingdom.
Hmm.
So on the model, the lot of, and then finally the futility of war.
Hmm. Right.
So the thinking is of a
Different kind.
it's a different kind, and it's at a higher level also.
Hmm. Hmm.
So if you ask me, I would say that Shivakam in Sadam is a better novel. It's actually the best of his novels,
Okay.
and it has been acclaimed as the best by critics.
Hmm.
Ponniyin Selvan, yes, magnum opus.
Hmm. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But Shivakamin Shabdam is um,
It's elevated. It's on
yes,
a
it's an
yeah, elevated.
elevating experience to read.
One of the characters I want to ask you about Nandini. Now, if you go on online forums, she's a much discussed character because because A is her beauty, the mystery, then the parentage. You know, I found this furious discussion on one of the online forums where um, it says that one person asserts that Nandini is the Pandya king's daughter, but she's also married to the Pandya king and had a child by him. So, see, I'm not sure. So, at that point, I was wondering whether I missed some nuance in the novel. Should I go back? Now, did Kalki intend so much of layering for that one character? I mean, she is actually an amazing character. You can't call her Willy, really,
No,
because
she's not.
she's not.
There's no
There's
Willy in the
there's no
novel.
Willy, but there's so much of layering to that one character. So he intended such discussion. He left that ambiguity. What was that?
I think he left a lot of intrigue in this novel.
Hmm.
And in the epilogue, he says, if you have read the epilogue, he says that there are many, I know that there are unanswered questions,
Hmm.
but people who write after me
Hmm.
may come and answer them. May.
May. Okay.
But Nandini is only a fictitious
Yeah,
character,
of
so
course.
the liberties that he has taken with her
Yeah.
are his.
Yeah. Yeah. But he did create such a. I think she stands out head and shoulders in
Yeah,
that
she
novel,
stands
isn't?
alone.
Yeah.
Stands alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, a close second to whom really, if you ask me.
So all of Kalki's works today are nationalized,
Hmm.
and in that nationalization, you see that there are so many publications bringing out the novel.
Yes.
In a similar way, do you think that there's one movie that's been taken of Ponniyin Selvan? So if somebody else say takes another, say, let me just for hypothesis sake, say supposing S.S. Rajamouli chooses to take his own version of Ponniyin Selvan, do you think there's scope for it?
I don't know really, because that is something that people in the film world will should answer. Um, but I don't think another Ponniyin Selvan movie will be made because audiovisually, what can be said has already been
He
said.
said, do you think so?
Unless they want to, go back to the novel and stay true to it from beginning to
Beginning
end.
to end, and not this was, I think, the part
There
two
was a
was
lot of
adaptation.
lot of
Yes,
liberties were
yeah,
taken with
taken.
the
Yeah, the
story.
plot.
A lot of changes were there.
Hmm. I think it has a very good potential for an OTT with, enough of, every chapter Kalki leaves us on a cliffhanger. So equally, I think it can be adapted to OTT. I believe that
Yes,
as many,
OTT, yes,
yeah, yeah,
as a serial,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, definitely. Yes, so you were talking about the, adaptation of for OTT, there is potential.
OTT, definitely there is potential, but when you think of the draw of the big screen and
Right.
what you can see in terms of sound effect and
The grandeur,
the
the sheer
grandeur,
grandeur of the presentation. Yeah,
so
yeah,
that matches the grandeur of the novel as well, right?
right.
So to get that into OTT uh,
May have
may not be the same.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But still, I think it will be interesting enough to for it
Sure,
to
sure,
for
I'm sure.
people to watch, to watch. Now, your father, did he keep any? I mean, has he shared with you any reminiscences of his own father? He's the one who's been with him the closest.
Hmm.
As a writer, I mean, other than being a father, as a writer, as being part of the freedom movement. Um, any of those reminiscences?
There are no special reminiscences that he has shared. Whatever he has shared has already been
In
written.
public domain, okay.
So only my grandmother used to say, that too when we were very young as
Hmm.
children, that they were beaten when they
Hmm.
protested in front of the toddy shops, and they were beaten when they said Vande Mataram. So your grandfather has taken so much of violence from the British, and he has gone to jail so many times.
Hmm.
And when he was in jail, I had to go to the village and be there
Okay.
with the
With the
children.
children, yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
So these are the tales that
that come,
we heard.
yeah.
My father was always a very busy person because he um,
He
worked
was
for the magazine
magazine,
and
yeah,
he'd be there the entire day. So not much time to
to,
share those
hmm,
reminiscences, and
hmm,
maybe he also missed his father a lot and didn't want to talk about that.
yeah, okay.
But I can tell you that for him, his father is everything.
That's
That remains unsaid, but
uh,
you can feel it in his every move and every word.
that's a very he must have been his mentor, role model, and his hero, isn't it, in some way?
Yes,
So you carry
certainly.
this I mean, you and your sister, that you carry this family legacy, so to speak, which is known by us generations past. The younger generations may not, since the print version of the magazine does not exist any longer. For the younger generation, until the Ponniyin Selvan film came, Kalki itself may have been a revelation for them.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, I think it has revived and renewed the issue, the interest in for Ponniyin Selvan and Kalki himself for a new generation, isn't it?
Definitely.
Hmm.
So my suggestion to the lovers of the movie and those who have picked up the novel
Hmm.
would be to read his biography as well.
Hmm.
There's a very well translated English version available.
Hmm.
There's also the original Tamil version available, Ponniyin Pudalvar,
Hmm.
which was written by Sunda.
Hmm.
It's a serial in Kalki, and now it is available as a book.
Hmm.
The same has been translated by Kalki's granddaughter, that is again my cousin, Gauri Ramaran, into English.
Okay.
It's a very good translation.
Hmm.
And both these are available for those who may want to know more about Kalki.
Hmm.
There have also been some shorter biographies written by interested people, which are now available in the Tamil book market.
Okay.
Couple of them are there.
Okay. Okay.
So, and one critic remarked some time ago, Venkatachalapati,
Hmm.
the
Yes, the
historian from
historian.
MIDS.
Yes.
So he remarked that I wish Kalki had never written Ponniyin Selvan, because that takes away all the attention and nobody looks at anything else that he has written, especially the non-fiction.
Right.
So the non-fiction that he wrote also is an indication of, or it's a mark of his, not only his scholarship but his forethought and his how he was much ahead of his time.
Yeah. His world also probably his worldview and his thoughts. Yeah. Yeah.
That you can see in the novel as well, in
Hmm.
his fiction as well.
Hmm.
You can see, you can read.
Hmm.
But for the non-Tamil readers, non-Tamil viewers,
Hmm.
to know more about Kalki, the only avenue today available is his biography.
Biography.
So if you read that, it's very comprehensive. If you read that, you know exactly uh, how his mind developed and how great a person he was.
Hmm.
Not saying this because just because he's my grandfather or
Right.
I belong to that family.
Hmm.
Anybody would say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And yes,
So that was nice. It was very great going down memory lane with you, Seetha, and it was really nice to have some personal anecdotes, some family remembrances, and to understand a little more deeper, where Kalki came from, even in his writing of Ponniyin Selvan. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for giving us this time for Indic Trails.
thank you so much. Kalki came from very humble beginnings, and that is something that all of us have to remember today. And he grew to great heights, heights that nobody could even imagine.
Yeah, that's an amazing uh, life trajectory. Thank you, viewers. Thank you for being with us on Indic Trails. Until next time, goodbye.
Thank you.